podcast listeners. I'm your host, Marc Bernstein, and I have a fun episode for you all today. Here's what I got in store. I was thinking that we hear a lot of requests, or I hear a lot of requests from people asking, what are the things that Balto believes that the rest of the world might not yet believe? Like, what are the things that you all believe were even unique perspective of some sort? And I usually don't want to address that question on the podcast because our philosophy is we should deliver information to people that they find helpful and insightful and interesting. And it shouldn't be about Balto and that they're going to come to like Balto through the interviews and through just the affiliation. So we stick away from Balto usually. But we do have a bunch of pretty interesting beliefs about the contact center and customer experience and the future of sales and service. So I thought I'd share a little bit about like what are the things that the company believes, and I can try to articulate that on behalf of the company. So for today's episode, I got 5 things. 5. I always love that number. For some reason, it just feels like a countdown, like 5 things. The clickbait got it right. 5 things that Balto believes that might be unique or interesting. And I'll actually start by telling everyone the founding story of Balto. I haven't really done this on a recording before, but I think a lot of folks would find it interesting. So let's kick it off. How did Balto come to be? Well, I was a B2B account executive at a SaaS company called TopOps here in St. Louis. Go St. Louis. And TopOps was founded by these 2 hometown tech heroes, Jim Eberlin and Ted Stan, who before TopOps founded Host Analytics, which became a $1 billion plus company or something close to that out in the Valley. And then also Gainsight, which became a $1.2 or $1.3 billion company. It was bought by, I think, Vista Equity a few months ago. And TopOps was their third go. So these guys wanted to go for a trifecta. And actually, just a couple months ago, TopOps itself was bought by Exactly. So they got 3 exits. And I noticed as an account executive, I would go into Jim's office for sales coaching because it was like a 30-person company. And Jim was both the CEO and the sales manager. And I go in his office and he pulled up the call recording and give me a bunch of really useful advice. Things like, hey, don't talk too much, or don't talk too fast, or try to ask more discovery questions, or make sure that if they bring up pricing, you don't just give out pricing right away, but you first make sure they like the product. All the sort of stuff, or you absolutely need to qualify. If you don't remember to qualify, it's going to hurt you later in the funnel. All the sort of stuff that we're used to hearing. And I would always leave his office feeling like, whoa, I learned so much. That was awesome. And then I later had an experience I realized that every salesperson and customer service person has had, where you leave your manager's office for coaching, you get to your next call, you finish the call, you hang up the phone, and then you say to yourself, I totally blew that. I knew exactly what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to address pricing in that way. I was supposed to ask that question. I was supposed to stop talking, but I didn't do it. Why? And the insight for the company was that there is a gap that no one is talking about and no one is thinking about between having an insight about what you should do, knowledge is of what the best thing is to do, and actually doing it in the moment that you need to do it live on the call. Everyone's focused on the insight. How can we learn new strategies and uncover what people say and make every rep your best rep? But like no one's actually focused on how do you help the rep do a better job on the call. So there's a gap there. And what we say at Balto is that everyone is so interested in conversation intelligence. And that is awesome. We say conversation intelligence is the starting point. Intelligence is not enough. It's not enough to know what you should do. It's not enough to have the profile, the best rep reverse engineered, it's not enough. And it's not really what you're shooting for. You're not just shooting for intelligence from your conversations. You're shooting for excellence. You're shooting to take the intelligence that you have and apply it throughout your conversations so they're, in fact, excellence. So we say that people should shift how they're thinking about what we used to call speech analytics, and we now call conversation intelligence. And we say intelligence is not enough. It's not just about conversation intelligence. It's about conversation excellence. How can you scale conversation excellence throughout your organization? So that's the first thing we say. Number 2, your organization knows a lot. Your best reps have a whole bunch of ideas on how they do what they do. There's a whole bunch of tactics that they've learned and things that they say. Your managers are reading blogs on the internet. They're listening to podcasts like this. They're buying books. And when they don't know something, there's the entire World Wide Web that they can search. So there is a lot of knowledge or insight at your disposal. In fact, you may even have a data science team that is working on quarterly projects or biannual projects, biannual, whichever the twice a year is, diannual. Isn't biannual one of those words that's both twice a year and every other year? If someone actually knows the answer to that, shout me out. But you have these data science teams who are doing these extended projects and coming up with models, showing buyer propensity for different products and coming up with different analyses of top topics that you should use in your calls. And your entire organization has all of these insights. And we say at Balto that your insights are sitting on the shelf. Your data science team came up with a great model, spent all this time, they handed it to the sales leader. Sales leader said, okay, thanks. The sales leader said, yeah, okay, cool. I think I can try to put that into the calls somehow. Or the customer service leader says, aha, great. We'll create a new module in the chatbot that takes a form of question that you already knew everyone was asking. So there is a backlog. We call it the insight backlog. All of the things that your organization knows that you can't actually apply live on the call to make better conversations with your customers. And we say there's all that stuff that you know, and it's not going anywhere. The bigger challenge is not coming up with some new, novel, undiscovered sales strategy or customer service strategy, the new 8-point customer de-escalation technique, or 3 points to call control, or the new, I'll make up something for sales, the BIC method. That was the first syllable that came to mind was BIC. The BIC method. Well, that's not the lever. Coming up with the new thing is not the lever in sales and customer service. The lever is getting everyone to do the stuff that you already know they should do on their calls. That's tangible. That's tangible. And when you learn this new stuff, it can't get properly applied. So you have a leaky funnel, if you will, a leaky insight funnel between the things that your organization is figuring out and how those things are being applied to sales and customer service calls. And I would say, think about that funnel. When you have a new idea, when you have new messaging, when your executives come up with a new strategy, how do you take that stuff, boil it down, and then scale it out to 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 contact center agents? When you do, how long does it take to learn? At what cost? Once it's learned, how often is it used? How often is it not used and agents go back to doing it the old way? How do you know if it's effective? Those are all the sort of things that people aren't thinking about in this loop. And Balto has a value proposition that we can scale change throughout the contact center. You can scale excellent conversations to hundreds or thousands of agents with the push of a button. Number 3, When managers want to coach their reps, in most cases, we think they already know what reps are doing well and what they're not. On the large, right? It's not like a manager's like, whew, I have no idea why you were succeeding or failing on your calls. There's this pattern recognition that people have, especially, when you're in a position of management and you're working with a number of people and able to compare them and contrast them and, compare them to your experience and previous experiences that you've had. And you have this whole like mental data set. And then when you see someone on a call and they're not successful or there's something that's not going well, you usually have a pretty good idea of why. And we think that most of the time, managers know what reps need to do better and what reps don't. Most of the time, managers know on the large what the best reps do and what they don't. And it's funny because I think people have tried to get so, micro with it. And what I mean is like you have these analytics that are trying to put together your profiles of top performers. And it's like your top performers say the word price 3 times, then do a backflip or some sort of like correlation that they found through like seeing what 2 things happen together on their calls. And I think that's kind of silly because I think often top performers do that stuff because they got to a place where they can do that stuff. You can't just take the different like things they say on their calls, the different topics on their calls, and say top performers talk about this more or less. And I think you already know. So what we say at Balto is that if you want to replicate the top performers, think about how sales reps and customer service reps naturally replicate the top performers. Let's pretend it's totally natural. You're not using any software or anything. What do? Well, back in the day, pre-COVID, they'd be sitting next to top performers. They'd only hear the top performer's side, and they'd hear a line that the top performer said, sir, ma'am, if I did that for you, it just wouldn't be good, or some silly little line that they say. And then they go, oh, that's good. I'm going to try that. And then they try it. Now, our hypothesis is that method is good in some ways. It's good that you're transferring knowledge between 2 different agents. And it's good that that somebody is able to try or test something new. But here's the problem. The problem is that you only have 2 people doing it. You have 2 people doing it. You have no idea if that question or that close or that de-escalation technique or whatever it is actually works beyond those 2 individuals. And by the way, if it does and it works perfectly for both those individuals, how does the next person hear it, especially since we're all remote? So what Balto says is that if you want to scale out what the top performers do best, scale out the things that they are actually saying to customers on their calls, not topics they talk about, not different sequences of events. It's so difficult and contextual to replicate that. Scale out the things that they're actually saying right there in the moment and test it. Test it. When you show a recommendation or a question to 1,000 different people and 200 of them use it, you could see after like 10 minutes whether it's working or not. Like, think about that power. It's not some like big backwards correlation that you then have to say, okay, now how do we talk about pricing and talk about the backflip in the same sentence in a way, okay, I'm going to do a pricing backflip training for everyone. Like, it's not like that. It's literally, did they say this? And if so, how often was it effective? So we think that you can take testing down to the micro level. I know 2 micros, it's silly. I'm getting ahead of myself. The micro level. And one of the fun things we say is that the marketing world has been A/B testing since the Sears catalog. The sales and customer service world isn't testing shit. That's pretty wild. And you often hear about, sales testing email subjects, but that's kind of like what marketing's doing. And also, no one's testing what you actually say to customers. You're just testing the email subjects. So how do you actually test out different messages with your customers? Well, it turns out that when you can show agents recommendations live on their screens right there in the moment, you will have some portion of people take those recommendations. And when they do, you'll be able to compare how effective was that recommendation for the people that got it versus for the people that didn't get it. And boom, you got a delta. You got an experimental split test right there that showed you, was this particular strategy effective? And you can run that loop. If it takes 20 minutes to complete a test, you could run that loop if that's all you did. Let's see, 20 minutes that's 3 blocks in an hour. Let's say that you work 7 hours with a 1 hour lunch break. That's generous. So you could run that 21 times. And then if you're a little less generous, 24 times in a day. You could iterate what people are saying, see the results, push out change. That actually could be the role of someone in your organization. Imagine if someone was paid, and I don't want to just throw out salary numbers, but was paid a good chunk of money, and all they did all day was swap out and test different questions and topics and things and words for not words. Words are too micro. People put too much power, like an individual word. If you say now, the customer springs into action. I don't think that's true. But you question out, you can test out topics and sentences and value propositions and questions and whatever. You could do that 24 times a day. How quickly would your conversion rates go up if 24 times a day you had somebody swap out underperforming content and swap in the best performing content, or elevate the best performing content? That would be insane. Well, that's the opportunity. That's the opportunity for folks who want to embrace the idea of scaling change, scaling excellent conversations throughout the contact center. Let's go to number 4. Actually, I'm going to go to number 5 and go back to number 4. I ordered them in my notebook, but I'm going to skip right to number 5 because it just syncs up better. And that's the topic of real-time guidance. So what is real-time guidance and what is not real-time guidance? So a lot of folks are saying that they're inventing real-time guidance these days, which is wonderful because Balto invented it. And check out realtimeguidance.com. Plug. And what they do is they listen for a keyword and pop up a paragraph to the agent. So the customer says, I'm having a problem with my bill. And it hears bill and pops up, I certainly understand that, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. How about I help you find an answer to your bill today? And it's that's not enough. That's not enough. You can't just pop up a paragraph to the agent. What you need to do is you need to think about what are the levers that you have to inflect a call one way or the other. What are the different ways that there's a moment where the customer could be frustrated, or the customer could cancel, or the customer could give an objection, or the customer could say no, or the customer could hang up, or whatever use case you got. The customer could get argumentative or talk about legal issues. It could go that way, or it could go the other. It could go with a happy customer. It could go with revenue generating. It could go with a customer making a referral. It could go with the customer submitting a review. It could go with the customer being super satisfied. Go with the customer posting about you on social media. It could go one way or the other. And you find those moments and you give the agent options. You give the agent options to pair what they think is the best thing for that moment with their knowledge and memory and context and pattern recognition. You give them options of things that the best agents have said right there in that situation. And then you let the agent choose. Critical. You let the agent choose. And that is what differentiates agents feeling like real-time guidance is Big Brother, making them sound like a robot, with almost feeling like masters of the universe, puppeteers who have all of the data and information about which option works best, and I want to use that one. That agency is so important. Don't just make your sales and customer service agents robots. Empower them with options, give them autonomy, and give them guidance, give them recommendations. Don't give them mandates. So we say that in order to do this well, you're looking for that inflection point. What real-time guidance really is about is pairing an insight that you generate the second the insight becomes what we call knowable. Second, it becomes knowable. So the second that there is some pattern that the world has created or some event that has occurred, that right when that event happens or that pattern is possibly perceivable, boom, you have a real-time insight. But remember, intelligence is not enough. There's an insight backlog. So what do you need to do with it? Real-time guidance is about pairing real-time insights with real-time delivery, taking that insight and sending it right away somewhere useful in the organization where it can make an immediate impact. So then you can ask the question, what are the things we could analyze in real time in order to have real-time insights? And then where could we send it in real time in order to have a real-time impact? Well, Balto today is analyzing agents' calls in real time, looking for the insight in agents' calls, and sending the insight to the agent in real time. Could it send the insight to the agent's manager and say, Mr. and Mrs. Manager, ding, 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 Mark is on a call. Mark just got a pricing question. You've been training Mark on pricing for the last 3 weeks, and he hasn't seemed to get it. Click this button right now. You can see the real-time transcript. And then click this button right now, and you can listen to the call. Or click this button right now. You can chat Mark right there in the moment. That is real-time guidance. You can take the call and send it to the agent. You can take the call, send it to the manager. You can take it to the executive and say, Mr. and Mrs. Executive, we are looking at your intraday trends, and this particular topic is coming up 20% more today than it does on a normal day. And here's what customers are saying, the words that they're using about this product. Well, we actually took 5 snippets of different things that customers said about the product and sent it right to your marketing department and suggested a promotion they could put on their website. That one day will be real-time guidance. So real-time guidance is about having an insight and pairing it with a delivery in order to make an impact. And by the way, if you're thinking about having an insight, I mentioned you can have an insight from a call. You could have it from a chat, from an email, from social, from text. Even one of the things I'm excited about, have an insight about how the user interacted with the website before they got to the call. Imagine how crisply you could transfer the knowledge about that interaction if you saw what the customer was doing on the website or collected some metadata about it. And then the second they got on the call, the agent's recommendations were powered by whatever the customer's experience was. That is true omnichannel. That is a blended experience. And that is only possible with real-time guidance. That's the sort of loop that we want to have between sourcing great sentences, questions, value props, things from your best people that they're actually saying, sourcing it, delivering it as a recommendation the moment you deliver it, analyzing it, and seeing when that recommendation is used, what percent of the time is it successful or effective or lead to a positive customer interaction or a resolved call or a sale. And then making it very, very easy for the manager or whoever is looking at it, maybe it's a full-time person, think about it, to see, aha, this thing is working, this thing is not. Make a change and boom, scale out another test. That loop is real-time guidance. Maybe I'll just leave it there. Like I have a fourth insight, but that seems like that a good place to end. And I can talk about the fourth insight another time. Cliffhanger, customer service, where is it going? But I will. I'll actually leave it there because I think that was a nice ending and I was super passionate and I think everyone could probably hear that. So I'll summarize the 4. Intelligence is not enough. Conversation intelligence is the starting place. What we've been trying to get for decades, the holy grail is conversation excellence. And I'll even say one more thing because I love this topic. I think with conversation excellence, what we wanted is for sales and customer service people to have excellent sales and customer service conversations. But we've been nibbling away at the edges of that problem. We say, aha, I know how we can make sales and customer service people excellent. We can make their note-taking better notes, faster notes, little better notes. Oh, wait, no. Actually, why don't we try this? Why don't we make it so they can contact more people faster, more contacts with templates? No. Okay. How about we try to reverse engineer the profile of what an excellent rep looks like, and then we have perfect data around an excellent rep? Nobody is actually helping sales and customer service people be excellent right there on the call. No one is doing that. That's the holy grail. That's what you really want. We've been nibbling around the edges of that problem for decades. Balto is attacking the heart of that problem. Intelligence is not enough. You got a backlog of insights, which we call an insight backlog. Things your organization knows that you're not applying. Everyone's focused on the knowing. No one's focused on the applying. Applying is the lever. Get everyone to do the things that you know they need to do live on every call. 3, your managers already know what good looks like. They already know where reps need help. They already know what the best reps do. The problem is getting everyone to do it. And then I'll skip to 5, real-time guidance. It's about real-time analysis, coming up with a real-time insight, and then matching that analysis with real-time delivery. And then when you match the real-time insight with real-time delivery, you have a closed loop of being able to recommend things, analyze them, and scale out improvements in minutes. So thank you all today for letting me share a little bit about Balto's perspective. I think you can see that Balto's perspective and my perspective are in many ways one of the same. So that's what happens when you're with an organization for a while, right? You start drinking the Kool-Aid. So thank you all for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts, and you can reach me at linkedin.com/in/BaltoCEO, or you can send me an email, which I won't give out here on the air. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.